Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Merry, 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 everyone.
Monumental
Hi.
double last night.
It's a monumental Christmas, everyone. Both his teams won on the same night. Will
Correct.
that happen again this year?
It's a good question.
I'm going to go with over-under is no.
If I give you an over-under of 1.5, you taking the under?
Under. Did
Taking
they
the
both
under?
win on the same night?
Yeah.
Under.
Okay.
Maybe it might happen one more time. Maybe. Hi. Happy Friday. Happy Christmas weekend, everyone. How's your drive right now? Is it wonderful? Where are you going? Where are you going right now?
I ain't driving anywhere.
I'll be on a train tomorrow. If anyone wants to catch up with me, head up to old New Jersey.
You don't want to put that invite out there. I know
That's
you.
true. I
You don't
don't
want to
wanna-
sit next to the same person for
Don't
3 hours.
Don't sit next to me. Don't sit next to me. Yeah. You could be near me. Don't sit next to me.
Don't talk to me. That
Don't
would be your
judge
thing.
me when I go to the cafe car. Don't judge
You know
me.
what you need to do is you need to get your because it's going to be a crowded train. Get your game notes out and just like spread them across a bunch.
Oh,
of
I plan on
trays.
doing that.
Yeah.
That's what I plan on doing on the train tomorrow. Watch more Jets film. That's exciting.
Gonna fall asleep.
Get those notes together. Not supplied many from the NFL for this week. They didn't allocate a lot of resources to this one.
Wonder why.
Ready to go. Trevor Siemian, come on down, baby. That's
What do
we
the,
get this weekend. No Zachy Zach.
What do the bootleg T-shirts look like in the parking lot for this one?
I'm gonna buy you one for Christmas.
Merry effing Christmas
Yeah.
from the Jets.
I do want Bing Bong in the Jets font. I think that would be a great shirt.
I think that shark has jumped the shark already. So I
Bing
doubt
Bong?
they do that. I doubt they do that. I think
For me, I can't get over it. That's New York to me, is Bing Bong.
I feel like there's gonna be something having to do with like Merry Christmas Jets fan bleeper was full like Christmas vacation.
Yeah. Let's see if there's a bingbong.com. Hold on.
Bingbong.com.
Bingbong.com pops up Bing and Bong's dog stories. There are 2 dogs named Bing and Bong.
Okay.
Your choices to read about them: in the beginning, the puppy gallery; Bing Bong's biggest adventure, the frozen land; back on the boat at last; nap time, oh so comfy; a new dawn, the Sheila monster; not much of a guard dog; oh for a squirrel; old age.
Can you just get back to?
and
I don't even know what
black
you're
magic.
saying. I feel like I'm having a stroke of whatever you're reading.
All right, fine.
What is that?
That's bingbong.com. I was going to buy it so I could make Bing Bong merch.
I think you would want this one though.
What? Bing Bong, yes.
The Knicks. It's
The Knicks
logo
Bing
there.
Bong shirt?
That's a good one.
That is a good one. All right, let's see what we got. Trevor Siemian, come on down.
Yep.
We're going to get him no Zach. So he's probably going to be out, which means Mark Rippon's nephew is going to be the backup, or who knows, the magical Aaron Rodgers. I would assume he's not playing, but he is on the 53-man roster, guys.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So we're going to get Trevor Siemian this week. For us, no Brian Robinson again. Nick Gates will start at center. Tyler Larson's out. Cornelius Lucas will start at tackle. Charles Leno's out.
You were just telling us how great the defensive line is for them yesterday.
I mean, I hope no one gets mad when I say this. Cornelius Lucas is fine at left tackle to me.
Sure. That's not the one I'm worried about.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here on the Quinnen Williams v. Nick Gates.
Yeah.
It's, remember how excited I was about Nick Gates coming here, too? I was very excited about that signing.
He can have a good attitude and still not be good at football. I mean, that happens
We'll
in
see
all
what
sports.
happens. See what happens. He looks the part for sure.
He's in a lesser degree, but in a better skill position is TJ Oshie. We all appreciate TJ Oshie's efforts these days, but he's on IR for the second time and he gets hurt all the time, and
How many years does he
he's
have left?
diminishing. I think
2
it's
years
2
left?
years left.
2 years left on that
Like
contract?
everyone has 2 years left at this point.
That's right. Yes, everyone, because I'm loyal. Stop telling me I'm not. Don't tell me I'm not loyal. The truth is I am. Shut up, Mrs. Bowser. All right. Anyway, let's see. So I talked to Ron Rivera after practice today, and I just asked about professionalism. And that's what I really wanted to talk about today, just to hear what he thought. Because, I will say this, like at the end of the game last week, the record is what the record is. And, they made a move to sit Hal. And the game was 28-7 at that point. And Brissett came in, and they played with a lot of juice, and they played hard. And that was a good sign, I think, for all the draftnik people who were like, please lose, please lose, please lose. Maybe they don't want to see that, but I don't subscribe to that stuff. And he talked about it from the perspective of why it is important to continue to at least try your best. And then, close your ears if you want to hear this, win.
Right.
And frankly, and I said this early in the week, and I feel the same way right now. Don't be surprised if they win this weekend. You may not like that result, okay? And I understand why you don't like that result, but it very easily could happen because the Jets' offense has been atrocious. And this guy's making his first start for them. Their offensive line, you think ours is messed up. Theirs is really messed up. I mean, like, bad. Like, this should be, in normal times, Allen and Payne would be eating these guys up. I don't know if we're going to get that this week, but I'm just priming you all for, we might win 13-10. Don't be surprised by that. And when I was talking to, Rivera about just that idea, and I even said to him, and it's not that he doesn't know this, but I'm like, I'm saying this from the fan perspective, and I'm sure you're hearing it. They want you guys to lose now.
Yep.
They want you to lose now because of the draft. And I'm not asking you to comment on that because I'm not going to ask you to talk about, the desire of some people not in the building to want to lose because no one's ever going to say that. Explain to me what you want from the players down the stretch and why it's important to win. And he gave what I thought, very detailed answer about it. And most of it was things you've heard before, like, listen, you're a professional football player here. Don't ever forget that.
Yep.
Never, ever, ever forget that part. Because when you do, you lose the trust of everybody. Whoever's here or not here, you lose the trust of everybody. You lose, this is why I was going off on that George Pickens thing the other day. He's a really good player, a really, really, really good player who made a weird business decision in a game that they needed to win where he wouldn't block somebody because running through his mind throughout apparently the entire game is, I just don't want to get hurt.
Right.
Well, if that's the case, well then why would have you ever asked yourself, George, what if the rest of your teammates felt the same way? Mm-hmm. What do you think the record of your team would be?
Yeah.
And so Rivera was, I thought I really appreciated the way we talked about it because it was mainly I know, that where we are. And I know, he doesn't have to say this, but everybody knows what the number 1 or 2 pick means. Whether he wants to, continue the sales pitch of Sam Howell's the future or not, I think we all know what that means. But at the same time, and I subscribe to this, I think winning matters. And I agree with, winning begets winning. And I really don't think that going into anything, and none of these guys will, but going into anything with the mindset of, let's just keep it close, wink, 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 and then lose is a reality that I think anybody wants to live in a professional organization. And so that's why I keep saying, I think they can win this week. I don't know if they will, but I think they can. I'll probably feel a little differently about the 49ers game, but I think they can win this game this weekend. And don't be shocked. And I guess maybe I'm more saying, don't be that upset about it because you really shouldn't be. The guy on that other sideline who's not playing this weekend was the number 2 overall pick.
Right.
So this is what you think you're getting if you lose this game to the Jets, the number 2 overall pick. What if that guy turns out to be him? There's no guarantees in any of this.
I mean,
he is not good enough to be a starting quarterback. That is now the God's honest truth at this point,
sure.
Right? And they went and moved heaven and earth to get Aaron Rodgers to replace him prematurely within his contract because they didn't think he was the guy, and then forced to prove to them that he still could be the guy down the road. He failed miserably, right? And I don't think that's all on him. I'm sure there's a lot there, like anything. There's a lot there. When we talk about Hal in a minute, there's a lot there to point at, right? It's never all the person. But who thinks and looks at him and goes, if he's just in the right situation, he is going to become X, Y, or Z. Nobody thinks that anymore. So beware of what you wish for.
Yeah.
That's the number 2 overall pick 3 years ago. He didn't work out. So I don't think there's guarantees in this sport. I really don't. There are none. Chase Young is an example of that.
Sure.
We had the number 2 overall pick. He is not on this team anymore for a lot of reasons. But some of them were, he was not a Bosa at any point in time. Never was that. He was a very good player. He's a nice guy. He unfortunately suffered some injuries that really derailed a lot of things for him. But let's be real here. At no point in time was he trending towards J.J. Watt.
I mean, his rookie year was really good.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, he
good.
Did game-breaking plays multiple times.
A couple times.
Like wow plays. I mean,
right, yes, it was. And then it never happened again.
Correct. Totally.
And, remember, it was the middle of his rookie season that Boswell wrote he's a bust.
That's right.
He didn't say that, but he insinuated
it. Yeah.
And then he had a great second half of his season, and then he had a really poor first half of his second season before he unfortunately got hurt. And then his third year just got blown up because of injury. And I don't blame him for any of that.
1 year anniversary today of him being activated,
and
by
then
the way.
Then he turned around and came back for year 4, came back in great shape, but he's marginalized by some of these injuries. And it didn't happen for him this year either.
Right.
He did not have some big, huge, he was good, but he was never great. That's the second overall pick, everybody. So I'm just saying, I subscribe to, and I'm not just saying it because I work for them, I subscribe to that winning matters. I think it installs everything. I appreciate what's happening in Cleveland. Everybody should. I appreciate what's happening in Cincinnati right now. They could have been you know what? We've won a lot in the past. Burrow's out. It's not happened for us this year. They might make the playoffs with that team.
Right.
Cleveland's on quarterback 4. What does that say about that coach? And keep it in a place that never, ever wins anything. Look at the Rams last night. Everyone said they were going to stink because they turned over their roster because they were in cap hell. They happen to have a very good quarterback, but they turned over this roster. They may make the playoffs now. I think winning matters. I really do. And I know everybody has this idea that we are where we are, so just lose this game to the Jets because we know we're going to lose the last 2, and let's root for Arizona. I hate that loser mentality stuff. I just hate that the idea of let's just lose. What do you mean let's just lose?
There's levels to this, though. This whole fan base was traumatized in 2019 because they won a stupid game against the Dolphins that would have netted them Joe freaking Burrow.
Yeah, but that was week 5. You wanted them to start tanking in week 5. That's where we are.
No,
you want people to throw away a season before it ever starts?
No, but it's week 16, and we kind of can see the forest from the trees here, and everyone knows. And here's the thing. I don't think anyone's actively rooting against the team. No one sits down and watches the game.
You know my joke all week, though. Someone's going to tweet at me, you ruined Christmas, when they win.
Well, here's the thing,
when they win.
If you actually sit down and watch this team and you are actively rooting against them, you're not really a fan anyways. Now,
I agree.
I think, though, if you're like me, you're going to sit down and watch the game, and if they win, fine, great, you win. But if you lose, I'm not going to be mad about it. And I think that's the mentality you have to have because we're fans. We're fanatical. Yeah. We're insane. So when it comes down to it, I don't think anyone's actively saying, come on, Sam, throw that interception. I don't think anyone sane is rooting for the team like that. But when we're literally laying out, hey, if you lose these games and these teams also lose and you're going to land the number 2 overall pick, I don't know. I feel like that's a part of the NFL life right now.
It's just not part of me to feel that way. And I don't feel I was on, when Ted used to always say this, don't tank. I was kind of on his side about it for a long time. I'm like, what does it say about your organization when you are that way? You've just decided you don't care about winning? Well, if you don't care about, now and then tomorrow you will start caring about winning again? That's what you're telling us?
To make the argument, too, on Wilson, though, that draft was the Trevor Lawrence draft, correct?
Correct.
Trevor was the only can't-miss prospect. Remember, all of those there
were other quarterbacks that got drafted.
Yeah, it was Trey. That was the Trey Lance draft. It was Trey Lance,
Justin
it was Zach
Fields,
Wilson, Justin
Mac
Fields,
Jones,
and Mac Jones.
Correct.
But remember, all those other quarterbacks, they didn't come on to really being the top picks until the second half of the season, and then really the combine is when everyone shot up the rankings.
Trey Lance went number 3.
Right.
There's another one. There's another example.
Totally.
Not even on that team anymore. So beware of what you wish for here. None of this is guaranteed. But none of it.
But here's the thing. Caleb Williams.
Even in Caleb Williams' case, and I'll be happy to talk about him in a second,
Sure.
but go ahead.
But I'm just saying, Caleb Williams has been touted as the best quarterback for a long time now. I always think there's a difference here when you have the guy come out of nowhere, like Zach Wilson, essentially.
I don't think he's guaranteed to be the number one pick right now.
Okay. And either way, then
I think he'll be number two.
With Drake May, though, that's what I'm saying here, too. Drake May started to get touted really early on in the season of everyone going, oh, this guy seems legit. Like, these are the 1 and 2 guys. And it seems like a whole different monster than the whole Zach Wilson thing. Like, I think even you and I, when we were going through that draft, were like, I don't know, man. The kid from BYU, you think he's going to be amazing, and they drafted him 2 overall? Like, and he came on strong fast in the offseason is really what happened there. These are 2 quarterbacks that have been touted.
I think Justin Fields was the 4th choice because he happened to go to Ohio State, and the Ohio State quarterbacks hadn't performed particularly well when they'd been drafted, Haskins included. They'd gone to the pros, and they hadn't turned into really good pros. There'd been a number of examples of it. E.J. Manuel, Dwayne Haskins, a couple of others that had huge college careers but didn't transfer over. And I think that's what spooked people.
Sure, which I think is a valid point.
I don't know. I mean, like, why should it? But whatever. That's another story for another day. But, like, now, Justin Fields being taken behind those other 2 looks ridiculous right now.
I agree with you on that.
Like, you don't have to say he's great, but he is far superior to those 2, and it's not close.
Right, but at the same time, too, the Bears are asking the same questions, too.
They are, because they may have the number 1 pick, and we'll have to see. On Caleb Williams, like, and this is par for the course at this time of year, and we'll ramp up even more. You're already hearing who's in this kid's ear.
Right. Yep.
His family has already said some very odd things publicly, like, we may not go to the draft when we know you're going to, because why wouldn't you? USC can't give you enough money. He wouldn't talk to the media after they lost a couple of games. I don't mind him bailing on the bowl game. That makes sense to me.
Sure.
He like that for considering how high he's going to be drafted. Talia, we could have a discussion about whether he should or he shouldn't.
Right.
In Caleb Williams, I get it.
Stupid amount of money. Yeah, it's you can't.
You can't get hurt.
You can't.
No, you can't get hurt. In fact, once they were kind of eliminated in the regular season, there was part of me that was kind of like, I know it would be unusual and he'd take a lot of heat, but if he's going to be the number 1 pick, you bail, and everybody's mad at you. Well, whatever. You had your chances, and it wasn't like they were losing because of him. Like, their defense was just so woefully bad. But there's already a number of what's he about stuff going on that it isn't about his talent, but you're going to hear that about him. His father's already said stuff publicly that is not the best. He's already been a little off-putting to the media already. There's already this who's in his ear stuff. I mean, that was some of the stuff that came with Chase Young and kind of manifested through the years that he was here. Who's advising him? Why is he saying and doing the things that he's doing? Is Caleb Williams going to show up in the offseason when he's the quarterback of the team, or is someone telling him you need to do, like, I'm already hearing that. Now, that also could be slander because, it starts this way where people don't want someone to be the number 1 overall pick, and his talent is immense. And I don't know. They're doing Washington a favor if he's not the number 1 overall pick because, frankly, I don't know how we wouldn't try to acquire him.
Right.
Being that he's from here. But, I also don't want RG Caleb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And that's some of the things that you're starting. Like, it's not about his talent. Same thing with RG3. Not about his talent. Like, it's not about that. What you're hearing is everything around him is setting up for what are we drafting here?
Sure.
Like, what entourage are we bringing into our world?
You're mentioning RG3. I'm going to Haskins. Haskins' family was really involved. Rest in peace and everything. But when he was getting drafted, it was all about his dad and his family and doing the party at the bowling alley. Like, it was when they drafted him, we were all kind of like, uh-oh. Like, we kind of didn't know this was a part of the equation.
Correct.
And so, no, I mean,
totally
listen,
RG3's dad
of course,
was similar. And you're like, I'm not suggesting like dad shouldn't be involved.
Yeah.
They should be. Like,
you've been around sports long enough.
Cam Curl's dad is on Twitter ubiquitously and says a lot of things. And there are times where you're like, I don't know, man. Like, you might want to cool it just a little bit with some of this stuff. You're not helping your son, in my opinion, give off the right impression.
Yeah.
That said, his play speaks for itself. And he also isn't like his dad publicly, at least.
Correct.
He doesn't do much. So I could separate that stuff. And Cam shows up, and he's very professional. We had issues with RG3 with professionalism, Haskins with professionalism.
Yep.
Chase Young differently, but with professionalism.
And all those two, by the way, I just want to say this about Greg Curl. Greg Curl just acts like a fan and keeps it on Twitter.
That's true. And his son, I'd love to ask Cam about it because Cam probably would laugh about it. He's probably like, that's just my dad. I have a feeling he's like, that's just my dad.
Greg Curl's not going to Jack Del Rio's office and saying, Cam's not playing in the box anymore.
Everything you need to know. Cam Curl's leading tackler on this team this year, okay? Right. And I know people kind of get on him about like he doesn't make a lot of game-changing plays, which is true, which I think is what's going to make his value be interesting. Yeah. But he's a very, very good player, obviously. And just remember, he was on an expiring contract, and he may have privately not been happy about it, but he didn't make a thing about it publicly and played very hard this year. Yeah. I'm going to tell you about what he's about, right? Sure. So I'm happy with him. Like, if I'm the team, I'm looking at him, and when everyone goes, well, you don't do this, you don't do that, I go, I actually think I'd keep that guy. If the price is right, I'd keep him because you want a professional. You want, to Rivera's point about the end of the season, you want a professional. Who's been more professional than that guy this year? Right. He hasn't had a contract. He's a seventh-round pick. He was making no money. He's the leading tackler on the team. It's not his fault the defense is bad. Sure. None of it. So, like, he's one that has made his case to me. All I'm saying about Caleb is this is already bubbling. Mm-hmm. So, and just think for a second, if he does somehow end up here, being from here, knowing how we go 0 to 80 on quarterbacks.
It's enabled fast, yeah.
Fast.
He's going to be the first big pick of Josh Harris. He's going to be the savior.
He's got prolific numbers in college. Yeah, he's won a Heisman. Sure. Yeah. People are going to go berserker and expect him to be Mahomes immediately.
Right. Yeah. No.
And
he's been compared to him.
And I'm not saying I don't want him. I do. Like, I want to make that clear. I do. I'm just saying, like, beware what you wish for here, which goes back to the original point. I don't know that actively rooting for them to lose is really the right mentality about anything because I'm a chips fall where they may type of person. Remember that year that you're talking about with the Dolphins where we won that game. Yeah. Well, the Dolphins supposedly were tanking for Tua. You know, he didn't go number one, and he ended up on their team anyway.
Sure. Right.
I don't know. I mean, we've had the experience of a much ballyhooed, can't miss, number 2 overall prospect twice, actually. Mm-hmm. LeVar Arrington and now Chase Young, and both of them were very good players.
RG3 was 2 overall, too.
Oh, right.
They traded
We've
up
had
to
3
get
of them.
Traded up
That's right. We've had 3 of them. All 3 of them were very, very good players. 2 of them rookies of the year.
That's right. Yep.
And none of them made the type of impact on this franchise that you would have expected from any of them. None of them did.
None of them got an extension off their
None of them
contract.
got an extension. LeVar didn't. You're right. He didn't. Well, he would have, didn't he? No, he did. The whole thing was he got really mad at the team because he said the contract was messed up. Don't you remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he got the second contract, and he claimed that they changed something after he signed it, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
But, like, whatever. Yeah. Like, that's fraud,
okay,
guys.
You're right. They did. It was there was an out after 2005.
And then they
cut him in 2006.
So he did get it. Yeah. But, like, and he was a very good player.
That was only a year or 2 after his rookie deal.
Same thing with him. He was a very, very, very good player. What did the coaches complain about? His professionalism.
Right. Yep.
Right. Chase Young, very, very, very good player, elite athlete. What did they complain about him? Maturity.
Right.
Like, why aren't you here?
Yep.
RG3, it's a bucket of things that we don't need to talk about right now. But think about that for a second. So all you rooting for a draft pick to think you've got the answer by doing that. Here's 3 examples that have happened here this century, and none of them turned in to be that person for you.
But what is the biggest difference between whatever would happen now and those 3 draft picks?
Caleb Williams? Maybe.
No.
Maybe not.
I'm saying, what's the biggest difference between the 3 we just mentioned?
You have a new ownership group.
Correct. And what was the problem with RG3 and LeVar? And I don't know about Chase Young
we'll find out.
But I'm just saying.
I guess we'll find out.
But you and I both know with RG3 and LeVar, they were buddy-buddy with Dan. And all of a sudden, they were enabled right away to jump over the head coach, do what they want. Now,
it was not the case with Chase Young here. There was
no, I know, but that's
Dan
what I'm saying.
Was on the yacht at this point.
I know,
yep.
But with the other 2, they were not put in the best position to be professionals. And with LeVar's case, it was shut down as soon as Joe came back, and we saw right away he was benched. I mean, he didn't start that year he didn't start his final year only because they had like a bunch of linebacker injuries. Like they were like Warwick Holdman or LeVar, like
I hear you.
You went with that.
I hear you. We'll see. You know, like what's their effect going to be? I mean, they got a lot on their plate. I was thinking about this. Like the amount of money that they need to spend, even in buying this property, which is at best a distressed one.
Right.
Like just consider They're going to build a new training facility somewhere. They're going to build a new stadium somewhere. They've got $90 million in cap space, which means they're going to be spending a lot of signing bonus money next year.
Yep, right. Got to pay for a rebrand, too.
Ownership group might get bigger. Might get a little bigger.
Start selling stocks and bonds.
Yeah, might be, maybe. I mean, like, just consider that. They paid a record price knowing that they were about to spend...
Sink in more money,
and not just a little bit, like a ton more.
We're the boat franchise.
So,
you buy a boat, you have to sink more and more money
Thank
into
you,
it.
Josh. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mitchell. Thank you, Magic. Thank you, everybody else. You better keep thanking them.
Well,
because they're not done yet. In fact, they're just getting started with allocating money that they're going to have to allocate over the next couple of years.
Well, look what they've done. They removed offices for more suites, so
That's
that
right.
revenue's shooting up a little bit. Season tickets are selling better.
Like, the more you think about it, too, it's like, God, these guys really wanted this.
Yeah.
Think about what they paid, the
totally.
price they paid to get this team. You must have really, really, really wanted it, knowing what you were going to have to do on the other side of it.
Yes.
All you get's the team. There's a lot of distressed parts they got to deal with.
Correct.
Last
we don't even know what we're going to call them in 2 years, 3 years, whenever that happens.
Last thing on just the end of season stuff. One of the most memorable games from a year ago was the way the Lions beat the Packers at Lambeau. It was Rodgers' last game.
Sure.
They had to win at home to go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Lions ended up not being able to qualify, but they knew that going in,
Yes.
right? They made a great run, and then afterwards they had this carryover effect. This is different because Dan Campbell was definitively coming back, and he got to say, build off of this.
Yes.
We don't know what the locker room scene is going to be after the Dallas game, no matter how the thing plays out, because I think we all know that changes are coming in whatever form they're going to be, and they might be widespread. We don't really know yet. So it's going to be hard to sell that. But the point is this. It did carry over for them. I do think winning begets winning. I think the Cincinnati Bengals have circled the wagons here because they're used to winning right now.
Right.
And I think the Rams have done it because they're used to winning right now. Maybe they're really well coached. Maybe they're really all this and all that. But, like, I think that stuff matters. And that's why I don't root for them to lose, even if that's hard for you to hear. I just don't root for them to lose. I think winning begets winning. And I think this team needs to do more winning than they have for 20-something years. And I'll take any win at this point.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
What's more losing right now? And like I said, I'm not rooting for that. I'm not rooting for it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sitting on the sofa on Sunday at 1:00 going, all right, Sam, throw 3 more interceptions.
I don't know. I feel like
looking at the bright side.
I feel like it's different in basketball because if you do land this one person, although year one with the Spurs does not suggest that at the moment. They got a unicorn in their they got the same record the Wizards do, which is unbelievable. Okay. I have assumed that's going to change. I think basketball is different because if you do get this one guy.
Right. Like Johnny Davis.
You do get KD, you do get Shaq, you get Kobe. You wouldn't even pick first. But, like, if you do get the one obvious guy, it changes everything
like
overnight.
Alexei Petrov.
Yeah. Jan Vesely. If you
Darius
get that,
Songaila. Andre Blatch.
You get the one
JaVale
guy,
McGee.
it changes everything. I don't think that's the case in football. Unless it does become Joe Burrow or Peyton Manning.
Right.
There's nobody that you're going to pick that's going to flip it around.
I think I'll just say this. I think I'm part of the fan base that I'll look at the bright side if they lose and go, all right, draft position improves. I'm also of the type, though, if you end up getting the 4 spot, they have the ammo to move up or take whoever they want to take at the 4 spot, and they have the 2 second-round picks as well. The roster reshaping will be up to whoever's coming in here.
I believe that the definition of winning at football starts with organizational structure, continuity, stability, and then talent.
Which is all
then
about
you have
to
hit
have reset.
Which is all about to be reset, which is why I'm less worried about the draft pick. They need to get everybody rowing the boat the same way. Yeah. It has to happen. All right, we'll be right back. Bram, what's your show? ESPN 630 Sports Capital.
Have a holly jolly Christmas.
This is one of my faves this time of year. I love Christmas music. It's lovely, joyful. I'm an optimistic person. I like this time of year. It's nice.
Can I actually bring something up with you? It's funny because, 2 of the people that I work with are Jewish, you and Ben Raby. And Ben had a good point.
What about Andrew Poland?
Yeah, of course. I mean, on a day-to-day basis for him.
Yeah.
Ben had a pretty good take that I agree with him with now that I've been out of retail for over 10 years because you do get traumatized by holiday music because they start playing it November 1st.
Right, yeah.
And I'm still shuddering at some of the songs I've heard over and over again. But he had a good point. He goes, it's quote-unquote holiday season. Why do we not continue to play Christmas music like up until New Year's? Like all the radio stations switch over on the 26th. Like, I don't know. I thought he had a good point there.
Why? I think it's just time to move on the 26th.
But I kind of see his
I'll
point.
I'll give you to January 2nd to take those lights down too. I'm out.
Well, that's what I think.
It's over.
I think that's what I mean, though.
Guys.
I think lights are fine until like the first week of January. I think the music should
But
carry
that's
over
it.
too. Yeah, totally. No, I think we're in the same boat
You
here.
should get a civic ticket if you don't take them down.
Civic ticket.
That's it.
Don't
Holiday season's over.
Don't be a thief.
Don't
of
be
joy
lazy
over there.
I am saying nothing about it going up on October 1st and staying through December 25th. It's over.
Okay, all right.
It's over.
Okay,
That's it.
I just thought Ben brought up a good point. He goes, the 26th, we all just act like we're over it, even though we're all doing returns and still with family
That's true.
sometimes and still celebrating.
It is
in
the
a
dead
way.
week. Nobody knows what to do. Between Christmas and New Year's, nobody knows what to do. And everybody's off. Nobody's working. Nobody knows what to do.
Especially now with like people working from home. Like no one was in this office all week this week.
That's
like
right.
people were answering emails until yesterday.
So many parking spaces downstairs.
So many
today.
parking spaces.
So many.
I'm right in front of the door.
Oh,
Like-
yeah. Valet service today.
Oh, and like, I don't know. I mean, we're in such a world now, too, where everyone is just like, yeah, everybody's kind of off, but they're not off. Like, you got to answer the emails. That's about it. So, yeah. Anyways.
Let's see. Rams beat the Saints last night. Not totally surprised. I trust one team and I don't trust the other. The other team might be better than that one, but
Right.
they haven't played like it all year. They really have no excuse not to have won their division. I mean, look at what Carolina did go bust. Atlanta has been a disappointment to this point, and Tampa Bay's average at best. And they brought in Derek Carr with a pretty good roster. I'll take that roster against just about anybody, and they stink.
Correct.
So, I don't know, man. I think that's a more than underrated opening that could happen here, Dennis Allen, because, I mean, he's and Arthur Smith, where I think both of those owners could say, how did we not win this division? I think both of them have that argument.
Pro Football Talk was already tweeting something today at how the Raiders last year, remember the last month of the season, they benched Carr because he was going to be due $40 million guaranteed no matter what happened. Yeah. So if he got hurt, they were still on the hook for it.
Yeah.
He's basically, Florio was pointing out, will the Saints try to do the same thing? Because Carr clearly isn't going to be the answer down there. Now, the problem is, aren't they technically still in the playoff race? Like, they could still, so they could still get a spot, but
they could still win that division.
They were saying, is $40 million, if they want to save that money or try to move on, do you start trying to do that now? Because he's clearly not the answer.
They're one loss by Tampa in the last three to being tied with them for that division. So they could still win that division, but they clearly
could go to Taysom. I mean,
Jameis.
Or Jameis, yeah, you could do that. So I wouldn't be shocked if we just didn't see Carr down the stretch either.
There must be something about him that they don't like. People don't like. Like there's a, like I thought it was McDaniels for a while, but now it's pretty clear. Like how on that team are they not above 500? Like they don't have to be a lot above 500 in that division. How are they not at this point streaking towards winning a this was predictable. It was a down bad division. Everyone knew it was good. None of those teams were going to be really good. And the Saints should have been chalked for that with the roster that they had. And with undoubtedly and not close the best quarterback of the division.
Correct.
And they've totally flailed. I think both of those teams, the owners are going to ask some serious questions. How did we not win this division this year? We're not in the division with the 49ers or the Eagles, guys. What's the problem here?
They're the type of team, by the way, they should have just effed around and scored 40 points at some point. They haven't scored 40 all year. The highest they've scored is 35. 38.
Everybody, I like the roster builds that this Mickey Loomis guy does all the time. Like, this is one of those, I would study them a little bit if I'm the new ownership group. You never hear that, like people poaching them out. They always have really good talent on that team. Yeah. They consistently restock with very, very, very good talent on that team. Like big-time speed talent, playmaking talent. This guy Shaheed is like every week makes 2 or 3 huge plays. Olave's a hit pick for them. Yep. Michael Thomas failed them by looked like not wanting to play for a couple of years after he got paid and some other stuff too. They've had good quarterbacking. I think that they took a shot on Carr. I don't blame them. And I think he's failed them. Yep. Hill, we make fun of him a lot, but he's a talent. He's total talent. Sure. They got a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. Like, I like them. I like what they build. I think they've underachieved, personally. No, Rams have overachieved.
Yep.
The Rams now are streaking towards potentially making the playoffs. I got to see who their last 2 games are. They win out, they'll get in.
Rams play in their final 2 games at Giants, at 49ers.
So that game for the 49ers may or may not matter. We'll have to see.
Right.
They'll have won the division by that point, we assume. Right? I think so. I think they already probably will have.
They've already won their division.
Will it be for the 1 seed? That's all that's going to matter. If it's somehow not for the 1 seed, they're going to play.
Right.
If it isn't for the 1 seed, or if they already have the 1 seed locked, then which would be He'd need the Eagles to lose a couple games
Their
to the Giants and the Cardinals.
Well, it's both the Cowboys and the Eagles are just a game behind them.
Right.
So
and the Eagles have the Giants and the Cardinals the next 2 weeks. It would figure that they're going to win. But the Rams here, they got to go across the country to play the Giants. But I think the Cutlets thing is over with now.
Yeah, that's happening.
And I assume they'll go out there and win. And that would be 6 of 7 heading into the finale for them. Boy, they circled the wagons out there. And Stafford's been outstanding. I watched him a lot, obviously, to get ready for our game against him. And I wasn't surprised by that result at all last night.
Right. I'm trying to look here. Yeah, there's 3 10-4 teams. The Lions are 10-4 too. So the 49ers actually, they would need everyone to lose one more game.
So the reality is the game's going to matter.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where the Rams are going to get in trouble because they're going to have to knock them off to probably make the playoffs. Unless they get lucky enough that the teams below them fall off.
And then they would actually not have to play.
And because they can't win the division, so they just rest everybody and go to the wild card because they're playing the following week. But they're going to need a lot to happen there for that to happen.
So let's see. Eagles, Cowboys, Niners have all clinched their spot. Okay? Lions will clinch the division.
Right. So that's and then there will be an NFC South winner.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So let's just take that off. That somebody, it doesn't matter. One of these 3 teams will win that division.
We actually might be right. They might not even need to play this game because behind them are the Seahawks at 7-7. So you got to just stay a game ahead of them.
If they win next week, the Rams will be at 9. That eliminates them.
Right. Okay. Then after that,
the Falcons only have 6 wins right now. Right. So if they lose one more, that eliminates them.
The Saints are at 7 and 8.
But they already beat them.
They already beat them. So and then
the Saints could win their division though.
They almost have to root for the Saints from here on out now that they just win the division.
No, you want them to be the wild card. You want Tampa Bay to win the division.
Okay.
Unless they've played Tampa.
Tampa's at 7-7, and they
didn't play the Buccaneers this year.
Correct. Yep.
So I don't know what the tiebreak would be for that one.
So that's what you're really only worrying about the second team in the NFC South, and then if somehow the Vikings win two more games.
The Vikings have 7 wins?
Yeah.
That's okay. So that's a problem too. Did they play them?
Vikings. Oh man. Vikings have 2 games against the Lions left.
Oh.
And a game against the Packers.
But that last game against the Lions potentially doesn't mean anything for Detroit.
Sure.
Potentially.
Right. But you and I know Dan Campbell. If the Vikings are playing to get in, they're going to play them.
All right, so the Rams, if they win next week, there might be a scenario by which they could rest guys against the 49ers and just make it, but maybe not. That'd probably be dicey.
Right.
That'd be dicey. And the NFL always sets it up so all the games play at the same time, so you can't get away with something like that. Like they won't find out beforehand that they don't have to play and then pull everybody.
Yeah, we'll see on that one.
Yeah, I mean, they should win next week, but we'll see. All right, the other thing that's going on, Florida State's serious about getting out of the ACC now.
Yep.
The reporting is the SEC doesn't want them. So I don't know where they would. That's the reporting. I don't believe that totally, but that's what they're saying. And then someone else, there are a bunch of reporters are reporting that they had a board meeting, and it was estimated that came out of that meeting to leave the ACC now would cost the school $572 million.
Yep.
Which I don't know how they would make up in any reasonable amount of time. Unless, how much more would they make by being in let's just say the SEC does take them. How much more would they make in media rights by being in the SEC as opposed to the ACC? It can't be enough to cover $572 million before what, 10, 15 years? There's no way.
They could go full Notre Dame.
We're going independent?
Could go independent. And their TV numbers back up that so many people watch them that somebody will pay something. Okay. Not Notre Dame money, but they'll get something.
This is what I think would happen to them, though, if they did that. Florida just stopped playing them. Okay? All right, so Florida doesn't play them. Now they're not in a conference, which doesn't matter because half their point is no one cares about the Wake Forest game anyway. No one cares about the NC State game. No one cares about the Georgia Tech. No one cares about that stuff. They care about 3 games that we play. Clemson.
Right.
That's it, really, actually. And the Florida game. They play Florida. That's a big TV rating game. If they're independent, why would Florida play them? This is what I said about Notre Dame. Why is anybody playing them if they're independent? It only can hurt you.
Yeah, except that's the whole
It
point.
can only hurt you.
That's the whole point, though. You get put on national television against them. So when you beat them, you get all this hype.
So you're saying FSU could get a Notre Dame deal from somebody?
I think it wouldn't be the same money.
I don't think they're that brand.
No, but I think they would get a significant chunk from somebody, especially in the streaming world. Somebody would take a shot on that. Like Peacock now has all the Notre Dame games. It does Paramount Plus step up and go, we'll be the FSU, and you can watch all of their games.
There probably would be a stipulation of your schedule needs to have this many top-tier teams on it, because if they don't, and maybe those other teams will go, how much are you paying us to be your non-conference opponent, one of your non-conference opponents?
But I bet you Florida, instead of going, we're not going to play you, is going to go, oh, we get to play you, and we're on this platform now too.
But here's the interesting side of this. So what happens with non-conference opponents currently? The big schools pay.
That's right.
Some school that in 99% of the time they beat. Every once in a while there's an upset and it's funny.
Right.
But like most of the time they pay them, a couple $1 million. What if that got inverted? Florida State is paying these other teams to play them, because to incentivize them to actually play them as a non-conference opponent. That said, if they had a schedule full of Alabama, Texas, et cetera, they might go 5-6, and that could backfire.
Sure, it could, but
totally backfire.
But clearly, they're such a brand, because how long did Florida State suck for, and now they're back?
So they leave and they start their own thing. Right. That's dicey.
It's dicey,
it's
but if
really
the SEC
dicey.
actually doesn't want them, I bet you that's still a better thing to do than stay in the ACC right now.
Clemson will be 2 steps behind them if they do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I bet you the SEC's going, we'll take you if Clemson comes with you.
Maybe, but I don't think Clemson is the same brand as Florida State. I don't think nearly as close.
They've won a lot
lately, but they're not a classic brand.
They do have a great profile. The small southern town, like they've got the whole.
But they're not,
this is why I think Virginia Tech would fit there. They've got the whole profile.
But
big stadium, little town. Big fan base.
Suck at football, though. That's the biggest problem.
Currently, that can always change. Yeah.
Clemson, though, is not any of those SEC teams. They're not any of them.
They're not, but they've been winning a ton.
Sure, recently, though. That's what I'm saying. Florida State was terrible for, 15 years, and now they're back right away.
They're back, yeah.
They were terrible. They were
I also wonder,
irrelevant.
Is this Florida trying to block them because they don't want them in the SEC? I don't know.
I don't think that would
Florida
be the case.
Trying to block
I don't
them?
think Florida would be blocking them at all, because then we're guaranteed to play each other every
year.
Yeah. I think they'd welcome that. Both schools would welcome that.
All right, we'll take a quick break. I can't wait to talk about what happened with Tom Wilson next. Brad wants to show ESPN 630 Sports Capital. And this headline from Awful Announcing. Avalanche broadcaster accidentally drinks from partner's chew spitter while on air.
No!
There's video of it. Amazingly, they did not stop in the middle of the broadcast or acknowledge, but I guess he immediately realized what he had done.
Ugh, I'm about to gag.
Yeah. Fortunately, neither Julie nor London dip in the booth, so I don't have to worry about that.
Good to know.
Don't have to worry about it. Last night also, the last couple nights for the Capitals, these are the moments in the season that make sports fun. Yep. They get to overtime against the Islanders, get a power play, score, win. Mm-hmm. Then they go to Columbus, blow a late lead, get to overtime again, but second of a back-to-back, gets granted a bad team. And if you watched overtime, you saw something you've never seen before. Tom Wilson, who's a pretty good instigator, but didn't really, I don't think, instigate this, somehow got pushed into the goaltender of the Blue Jackets, ends up in his net, and while plays at the other end of the ice, you could see there was a fight in the net, and the goaltender went full Ronda Rousey on him and was hitting him and punching him, gets a penalty, of course, and then the Capitals win, and we'll get to that Ovechkin scored, which is amazing in itself.
Yep.
The pictures, there's a picture the Capitals posted of the entire team standing in front of their bench, staring at this goaltender. There's a video clip of Dylan Strome screaming F you to this guy Elvis, whatever his name is.
Elvis Leakins is his name, yes.
It was truly, it's one of my favorite moments of the sporting year was seeing that. It was just amazing.
So I will say this was not new. This was building the entire game. Wilson does Tom Wilson things where he sits in the crease and makes life hell for you and ruins your sight lines.
That's what he's supposed to do.
If you don't have somebody that can go toe-to-toe with him, it makes life difficult for the goaltender. Now, Merzlikins robbed him once, though. He had a mini breakaway, and he robbed Wilson. It was one of the best saves of the game, maybe the best save from either side. So this was building up throughout the entire game. That being said, though, you cannot lose your mind on the guy in overtime.
Yes.
When honestly, he wasn't doing anything either.
He actually didn't do anything.
He got pushed into the net by your own player, and he happened to be, I think what had happened is what not everyone's talking about, by the way. Wilson fell into the net, and I think his goalie stick, the Merzlikin stick, got stuck, and so Wilson was just trying to get out. And so Merzlikin, I guess, just thought like, oh,
was holding it
you're
or
holding
something?
my stick or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
so I'm going to use this as the excuse to go off on you. And he starts going after Wilson to the point where Wilson ripped his goaltending mask off because it was like, dude, I'm going to defend myself. And I honestly thought they weren't going to say anything, or they weren't going to call the penalty on Wilson or on Merzlikins because of Tom Wilson. Like, the refs could have easily gone, oh, well, that's what he does. We're not going to do anything. And when they convened and gave him the penalty, I said, this is game over. They're going to score right here. And Ovechkin ends up scoring. The head coach blamed his goaltender on it too. Like, it was unlike anything I've ever seen in a regular season game where a goaltender just lost his freaking mind. I mean, it was amazing. It was fantastic.
It is December, so I don't want to go too crazy here, but I love what I see. I've been talking about this Carberry guy. Like, clearly everything's been re-energized. They fortunately have gone to some younger players. They've needed them very badly. Mm-hmm. The fact that they have, after a very slow start, kind of turned it around and are actually kind of streaking up the standings.
Yep.
And Ovechkin's barely scoring this year ought to tell you a lot about what's going on here. He's already benched Kuznetsov once for whatever he does. Mm-hmm. Oshie's hadn't played very much.
Yep.
This is, Backstrom
retired.
like this is a
2 weeks into the season.
This is a heck of a sign. I told you, I loved it. This Carberry guy's my favorite dude.
Yeah.
I'm not like giving him all the credit, but like clearly he's got them motivated. He keeps them on point. There's accountability. He's doing it in a way that they respond to and not recoil from. Like, I'm reading a piece about Brandon Staley out in the Chargers, and it's hilarious how he literally could not interact with his own players or understood that. This guy clearly has got that. He's got it. And then it was great seeing Ovi score last night because it was longest scoring drought of his career ended?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think we were up to 13 games, I want to say.
This has got that old feeling of, like, we got this team again that's very tight-knit, and that they're going to find ways to win some of these games. They're not as good as they used to be, but that vibe is back that we're a tough crew. I like this.
Well, they're also
it's all trending back in the way that I think we all liked about the Capitals. They have their own thing, and it's like obvious to everybody, like that they're a very tight-knit group of people, and that's what I really like about what's going on here.
Their biggest thing is consistency. Every night you know what you're going to get. Like, they score those 2 or 3 goals, or they score 2 goals. Even if the other team scores, you know they're going to lock down. Things will get out of hand. That's what I think I hated about last year with Laviolette, is they had some results down the stretch where you're like, you guys are too talented to be getting blown out by these teams.
It's also
on
not the old
times.
days. They can't pop 5 or 6 up on the board anymore. Like, it used, like,
but they
back in the
playing.
day, they pop, every once in a while they pop a 7 spot on somebody and you're like, wow.
But they
like,
weren't playing like
moments.
that. That was the biggest problem, was they thought they could do that. So Carberry's come in and have them playing a different brand of hockey. The other thing that happens here, too, is you have wins like last night. Those matter. Like, go ask the Toronto Maple Leafs fans who are super stacked with a stacked roster. They never have these character-type wins. And when they get to the playoffs, they get eliminated because they don't have any of this type of character stuff. The Caps are already starting to build a little bit of that. Like, go look at the Maple Leafs. They blew out the Penguins last week 7-0, and they got blown out by the Sabres last night with 9 goals being hung up on them. Like, that should never, ever happen with a team as talented as them.
The Capitals now at 38 points are 1 point behind the Islanders and Flyers in the Metropolitan, and 7 back of the Rangers. Had a ridiculous start to their season. But they're right there.
They played less games than almost everybody, too.
Yeah,
so
they're right there. It's very tight, too. Ottawa's really bad.
It's like 1 through 6, I think, are all separated by a few points, besides the Rangers.
There's not much separation at all in the East. Like like Columbus is in the 20s, but at least high 20s in points. Ottawa's the only team that's got a really bad record.
Right.
All right, John Keim next. Brave, watch the show. ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Time for our weekly visit with John Keim of ESPN, John Keim Report. For those of you that mainline press conferences out at Ashburn earlier this week, you would have heard Ron Rivera shout out John Keim's birthday to him. John is a Christmas week baby. How about that, John? How about that? You got the head coach of the team calling you out for your birthday this week.
I was delivered at home. I was delivered to my house with my mom on Christmas Day. So quite a gift.
You are the Lord of Ashburn. How about that?
There you go. We
were thinking about you.
Miracle.
When we get a new stadium, if we called it JFK Stadium, it could be John F. Keim Stadium. We could have that.
Well, Well, John Bleep Keim. So
Yeah.
That's what it should be. So, listen, it's funny because they start this whole process with the stadium. And we've been sitting in FedEx for a long time, and it's never been. It's been a long time since that was considered a good place to go to a game, and especially like in the press box. And then you think, well, there's momentum, there's this, there's that, and you realize it's still probably another 7 years before that happens. I don't know if I can hang on, Bram.
Yeah, probably. I know we talked about this last week, but let me just give this another week to breathe and just get your sense of, with all the things going on with Virginia and their attempt to get Monumental, have you heard anything over the last week about how that alters the dynamics of a new stadium for the Commanders?
No, because what I was told last week is there's still a long way to go. There's still, Congress still has to pass the bill that would give that land to the district or lease it to the district for, I think it's 99 years. It still hasn't happened. Then you have to still get through the city council. Then you still have to see what kind of funding the city can come up with. There's a long, long way to go. If this thing is resolved at this time next year, I'd be a little bit surprised. I think this is going to drag into 2025, and I think they still need to see what does Virginia do, what does Maryland do, and then what does the district offer. So there's a lot. I know the perception is, well, the mayor now has to get this done, but it's not just up to the mayor. So I think it's going to go beyond that. Can they make them an offer that would convince them to go to RFK? And so I think from a public perception standpoint, it maybe looked one way, but in talking to people here, I don't know that it went as far as what people would hope. But it's certainly, if you're the mayor, you got to get it done. You can't let those two teams leave and then not get this one. That's your legacy. But can they do it? It's different than wanting to do it or feeling like you have to do it versus can you get it done?
Okay, well then let me ask it this way then. Since Virginia's doing this or trying to do this, and Maryland has been going, hey, we could start this thing right now, and clearly the ownership group is at least waiting this out for now. Is it your understanding that they want RFK to happen, or they just want to survey their options? What is their heart set on getting RFK back? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
I think their heart is set on getting a really good deal. I think if you asked anybody for, if you think you gave them the truth serum, so to speak, I think RFK is a place that people would want to be. Why wouldn't you want to go down there? The biggest hit with fans would be to go back down there. Right? There are a couple things that fans have wanted. One, the owner's out. There's one. Two, another new name. Well, you may have to wait on that if it ever happens at all. But three is RFK, a return of there. So you may get 2 out of 3. So, yes, I think that's what I would say that would probably be the desire. But I don't think that it's going to be ruled by sentiment. So, you're going to still have to have a lot of things fall into place, and then it's well, if the offers are close, what do you do? And then, but if Maryland offers just a way better deal, you kind of over leverage a little bit with buying this team. Would you really then go do that for a stadium if you have a better deal over here? I don't know. And then it's what's the difference? So, but I do think if any of them really want to speak honestly, is that I think that would be the number one site because it's what I think. Very few people would say, oh, that was just a bad place to go. I think that would be the home run, the grand slam. So, yeah.
I'll add one more thing to the list the fans want lately, which is they want them to lose so they get potentially the number 2 overall pick. And I've been joking all week that I'm waiting for all the tweets where people tell me Christmas was ruined because they beat the Jets this weekend.
Correct.
Which just, I know how the team feels about it. They're not going into it thinking this way at all. Why should they? They shouldn't. What's just your general sense of the end of the season, knowing what's coming after this Jets game and what it would mean if they won it?
Yes, and we're real quick on the other, the coaching staff knows, they're not going to be part of this future. So the draft pick to them is irrelevant. And the players want to win. You talk to players, as you just said, they're not sitting there thinking about draft picks. because here's the thing. 99% of those guys were not picked, maybe not 99, but 98% of those guys, maybe 99, were not picked in the first round. I think they understand that, well, where you're picked isn't as relevant as who you are, right? So while fans, and you can get caught up in that, there are many, many, many ways to win other than having a top 5 pick, and they know that. Having said that, it gives you more ammunition if you have the second pick. It gives you more choices. And I think, especially a quarterback, if you got the number 2 pick and now you're choosing between Caleb Williams or Drake May, it puts you in a better spot because now you have a choice. And, if you're not sold on one of those guys and you really like Howell, well, then you can trade back because you're going to get a haul for that. And you can rebuild that. You can help rebuild your franchise. So, I'm usually a big believer, Bram, and you want to win. Like, if they somehow, we keep saying this every week, they somehow won the last 3, that would say something about the roster. If you go 4-13, it says something about the roster. It says it needs a lot of work, more than just one draft pick can do. But I think where you're at with the quarterback situation, if you're not sure about Howell, you want options, and that would give it to him. So, yeah. You could conceivably fall to the back end of the top 10 with one win.
That's right. And I was talking about this earlier, and I'm also of the mindset that you play to win in this sport. You definitively, you just play to win. I think winning begets winning no matter what. And I think that's, and I believe that because they've had the number 2 overall pick 3 times this century, and none of them turned out to be franchise-changing players for a variety of different reasons, right? Chase Young is not here anymore. RG3, that's a whole bucket we don't need to get into. LeVar Arrington was a really, really good player, but he was never the franchise-changing player they had hoped he was going to be. And it's my belief that they've lost for years, not because of where they selected or who they've selected, but the organizational setup for all of these years. They need to fix that. I don't care where they pick. When they fix that, and hopefully that will happen with this new ownership group, then there will be hopefully ample ground for whoever they bring in here to have a successful team.
1,000,000% agree. And that's always been my point to fans. Like, you can, just getting a top 5 pick doesn't guarantee success. Like, Jacksonville picked top 5 for a decade, it seemed. Same with the Browns. There are a lot of teams, the Lions, they're up there for a long, long, long time. And it really wasn't, they didn't turn around until, the Browns, till their organizational structure improved. The Jaguars, you hired a better coach. So, and you have Trevor Lawrence, but I don't know that Trevor Lawrence is like this generational player, but it gave an option. Mahomes was not a top pick. Mitch Trubisky was one of the top couple picks. So,
we're playing the Jets this weekend. Zach Wilson was the number 2 overall pick. They moved heaven and earth to replace him in year 3.
Right. And so you're right. Look at the draft, the one draft, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, all those guys. And you know who the best guy from that class is? Lamar Jackson, who went 32nd. So, it just tells you that it's not, you're right. If Lamar Jackson had gone somewhere else, I don't know that he'd be the same kind of player. He went to the right place. Mahomes went to the right place with the right coaching staff. So there's way more to it than just, you got a top 5 pick. Great. Now you're going to be good. In the NBA, it works a little bit differently. This isn't the NBA. We've seen examples all over the place of guys who have hit later in the draft, right? And if you get enough good draft picks, you're going to be a good team. If they get let's say they pick Joe Alt at number 4, and he becomes an all-pro player, but you get Squadouche after that, you're going to be a Squadouche organization, right? It doesn't matter. So it takes way more than that. And, if you were, who is it? I think it was the Steelers haven't picked up there in decades. But yet they win all the time, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's why, that's why I'm not a big fan. I understand, if Andrew Luck was sitting up there and you had a chance to get him, I'd feel a little bit differently, but I'm not sold on Caleb Williams or Drake May as these, oh my God, you can't live without them type guys. Now the question would be, though, are they better than Sam Howell?
Right.
But if they're not, you can still build a winning organization in other ways. And, I know when they had the number 2 pick with Chase Young, a strong desire was to trade back. to get more ammo for the draft, and nobody inside the top 12 wanted to trade with them.
Yeah.
So, but that was the desire because they knew they needed more than just the number 2 pick. But it does give you options, and if you can trade back, that I think would be, let's see what happens. Like you're 4th, whatever. They're also, here's the other thing that I'm getting. It's going to be a long 3 or 4 months, but it's almost like you can only choose one. There's this, when people talk about this pick, it's almost as if you only have one pick the entire offseason. So you can only use it on position X. Well, there's free agency, there's the draft, there's multiple picks in the draft. You can add picks in the draft. So, I was looking, somebody brought Bill's line to me as like this really good line. So I checked it out. Like, they have 3 second-round picks, no first-round picks, 3rd rounder, and a 5th rounder. So there are many ways to build a good line, so it may be by picking the guy at 4th. But the point is, like, there are a lot of ways to do it, and I'm rambling, but I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, regardless of where they pick, the big decision for whoever's making it will be Sam Howell and what they think about him. Obviously, He got benched for the first time in his career. I said verbally on the broadcast, John, I was verbally saying earlier I thought they should have pulled him because I didn't like the way he was seeing the field. His completion percentage has gone down each of the last 4 weeks. We know how many sacks he's taken. He leads the league in interceptions. There has also been a lot of really good throughout the year. But it's been, I don't know if regressing is the right word, but his best football is not happening now, which is what you would hope it would turn the other way. It's some of his worst football's happening now. So as you kind of think about it and reviewed the last couple of weeks, like, what do you make of where Sam Howell is right now?
Well, it's no coincidence, first, that they're playing the best defenses they played all year in this stretch. Like, that's, this offense is not good enough to beat these defenses. Where he is at, where the offense is at, where the run game is at, et cetera. They're not good enough to beat them. I think the disappointing thing is how the lack of competitiveness that they've shown on offense. And so I think with him, I think one of the things that has probably stood out is he's trying to do too much with the ball at times, or not always trusting what he sees. And there are times where a couple guys might be open, McLaurin open on a little hitch and against his own look, but he is there. And you're looking at him, but he's not sold. And maybe he's, as I like to say, maybe he saw a ghost. And he doesn't throw it, but he's there. It's a 12-yard gain. And I think he threw it to the other side and it gets 3 yards. But, that's like, trust what you see. And then I think the other thing is, Bram, like, that interception was a classic example. You get out of trouble. You have a guy open the flat, and Antonio Gibson, get it to him right now. It's 7 yards right now. But he tried to extend the play looking for another big play, and he throws it to McLaurin back across the middle of which you should never do, especially in traffic. And it's picked off. Then I go back to the Patriots game where he had some of those plays that were outstanding.
Yeah.
And he's had other games where those plays have been outstanding. And so I think what he's needing to learn is, when do you do that? And the other part of that equation, Bram, is during this period, his sacks have gone down. And, like he was sacked 40 times the first 7 games, 19 in the last 7. Sack percentage is 12.5 in the first 7, 6.1 in the second 7. That's really good. But I think sometimes I wonder, like, is that because he's kind of getting out of stuff too quickly? But I don't blame him because you want to keep the sack totals down. But is that part of it? So I think there's a lot of learning curve here with him still, and how to handle situations. And Bieniemy talked about, like him taking some things for granted or whatever. And I think a lot of it was taking for granted that you can make these big plays when maybe you're not always capable. Maybe you shouldn't be looking to always make those. Maybe you should just take the profit. And so I think that's part of where he's at. I'd like to see him throw with more anticipation. I felt like the other day that he was not good with that.
100%. 100%. God, yeah.
Right. And so, and there were a couple of times, like the one near interception in the cover 2, I didn't like the design. Like, it wasn't there. You didn't do anything to occupy the corner so he can sink deeper, and so it's not there. So get off that, right? So there are definitely decisions that he wasn't great with. But those big plays and maybe passing up some that would get you 10 yards to try and find the big play will get you in trouble.
All right, the last thing on him, and I wonder where you've fallen on this. Like, I think for everybody, when he got pulled and Brissett comes in and he makes two enormous plays to McLaurin in a second, and they're the two biggest plays he's had in weeks. In his second year, Jahan Dotson has just not been unlocked. He's had some moments, but he doesn't have anywhere near the statistics or the impact that I thought that he might. He's also had some bad games too, but still, all that being said, here are your two threatening players, and they haven't figured out how to unlock them. Is this design? Is this, and I thought it was just very telling that the second Brissett walked out there, that all of a sudden one of them's making these plays that we'd been accustomed to for a few years.
Right.
Is this on EB? Is this on Howell? Is this a combination of all of it? Because there's part of me that goes, he might be swimming in this offense, but it's on you to make it easier for him, and it's on you to design things to get Dotson and McLaurin open in the ball, isn't it?
It is. Now, there's a couple of things. So, one, it's not an apples-to-apples comparison with what Brissett did, because he's running a 2-minute offense, and so it's not exactly the same. I think there were some things that were a little bit more regulated. He knew, but what he did do is knew where he had the matchups that he wanted, and he went with it, and he was patient. And I think the 49-yarder to McLaurin was an example of that. Like, McLaurin they were very physical with him, so it wasn't like he had this clean release. He had to work to get through it, which meant that Brissett had to be patient with it, and he was. So, I think one of the things with McLaurin and Howell is they want him to trust McLaurin more. And there were a couple times in the last couple of games where, a couple times he didn't get it to him. They've almost hooked up on some of those long ones, but they haven't. And I'm shocked by that, because that's what we thought would be a strength of their offense. But I think part of it is the lack of trust there. Sometimes, yes, you can design a little bit more, but then sometimes you might have a play designed for someone, and the read or the coverage dictates you go somewhere else. So I think there's a lot of things, but you see other teams getting guys the ball who are really good and maybe are getting double covered, right? You find ways to move them around. You find ways to, either get them in motion, maybe move them around a little bit more, et cetera. And they've done that at times with Terry, but not as much lately. And with Brissett, it was just he knew where he was going to go with the ball. I think Kyle's still learning that. And, there are some times where I know, like, for those two that, and Terry has talked about this, about needing to get on that quote-unquote same page with how they're reading the coverage, and then what those two can do off of that. Can they develop that kind of symmetry where, okay, you have this particular look, just like what Rodgers and Devontae Adams had in Green Bay. Those are two elite guys. These guys are not them, but you can develop a really strong symmetry where you can see a coverage, say, okay, this is what we got. This is where we're going to go. Like, we're both on the same page. Let's go. And they're not there. And why Brissett would be there, but I think some of that experience. But yeah, it was, I think McLaurin's probably very happy about that.
Yeah, he was.
I know.
All right. Enjoy the trip up to New York. I'll see you up there at the game. Thanks.
Can't wait, Bram.
All right, that's John Keim. John Keim report at ESPN. All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll get set for Week 16 next. Bram, watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. I love this song. My favorite Christmas song. There you go.
Doesn't have the classic nostalgia for me.
No, but it's
only
amazing.
A recent development.
It's amazing, though. It is amazing.
I agree. The memes around it are amazing, too. Mm-hmm. Like, she's self-aware. It's her, hatching out of an ice cube now on November 1st.
Mm-hmm. It's my favorite. I don't have a favorite Hanukkah song. They don't exist.
Not Adam
or they
Sandler?
all suck.
No Adam Sandler
they
Hanukkah
all
song?
Suck. All of them suck. We've just done branding all wrong for generations. You guys have wonderful music, gifts, happiness.
You guys.
No
one's singing about Jesus, man. Don't put this on the Catholics. This is...
you got Santa,
it's a lot about presents
trees,
and stuff. Yeah. It's
happiness, family get together. The Jews are like guilt, avoid death, terrible food,
Let's be real.
Plight.
Let's
horrible branding.
Let the Catholic chime in here. Yeah. Jesus ain't happy about no one singing about him. Yeah, like he's about 20% of the songs. So
let the Catholic
he's like, it's my birthday over here. Like that's what he's saying.
Yeah, it's a good mythology going. You got the whole thing happening. It's good. Whatever.
He's like, who the hell's Santa?
Yeah, that's my right. He's like, what? How did you even get to that?
I'm the magic entity,
he's like,
not
what?
him.
I wasn't good enough? I came back from the dead.
That's right.
What's wrong with you? You ever met anybody else come back from the dead? No. All right, let's see what we got. Week
Jesus
16.
was Jewish.
Huh?
Jesus was Jewish.
Yeah, he was. That's why I don't get why you guys don't like us so much. We're one of you, baby.
Whoa.
Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Tomorrow, Bengals, Steelers. Mason Rudolph back at the helm for old Pitt. Mm-hmm. Bengals been winning anyway with Jake Browning. Give me the Bengals, I guess, because the Steelers don't try too hard anymore. So I'll take the Bengals. The Steelers just don't look like they got it locked up. So I'll take Cincinnati here. You're going other way. I know. There's a contrarian point of view that's easy to get to for that. Like, Tomlin will get the point across, but I'm gonna go Bengals here because the Steelers don't seem like they're trying very hard these days. So I'm gonna until I see otherwise. I'm gonna take Cincinnati.
You're not wrong. The offensive side of the ball is not going to produce for the Steelers, but the Steelers' defense is still good enough to win this game. And
they don't block for each other anymore.
Right?
You notice that one?
Correct. But I think the Steelers' defense overtakes the Bengals' offense. Okay. Whatever's left of it. Here's the other thing too. Way too much noise this week about Tomlin. Like, way too much noise about him possibly leaving, whatever. This is where he gets the point across to his players that they're not going to quit. Steelers win this one straight up. I'll go road, or they're at home. So, yeah, upset.
8 p.m. SoFi, Bills-Chargers tomorrow night.
Yep.
Bills are going to win, like, obviously. I don't know if 63 is going to get hung on them again because they got rid of this Staley guy who apparently, if you read ESPN, boy, did they not like.
Right, yeah.
But Easton Stick still playing. It's not going to happen. So the Bills are going to win. I'll reiterate what I've said, the last week or so. The Ravens do not want the Bills to make the playoffs. I don't think they could stop it this week, but I think the good news for them would be if Buffalo somehow doesn't qualify, because the way it's shaping up right now, them and Miami seem to be the only threats, and I'm trying to not be dismissive of Kansas City, but they don't look like the same team.
Yep.
So I don't want to touch Buffalo because they kind of been there, done that. They got the quarterback that can pull it off, and their team, when going and not turning the ball over, can be a devastating team to play. So they're rooting hard for the Chargers. They ain't going to get it right. So give me the Bills by 3 touchdowns. I bet because they've got to win. The Chargers are not going to get fixed. I don't care. They won't be as abominable as they were a week ago, but they won't win. So give me the Bills here.
There will be a Vegas Raiders effect here. The players will be playing better because they're not under that dude now, is what it seems like, right? But I will say this, would never touch the spread on this one, will not touch the Chargers. Over-unders at 44, though. That seems low to
Bills
me.
Mafia LA is going to take over, by the way.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But I'll take the over on this one, 44 points. The Bills could do that by themselves, I think.
agree.
So give me the over on the 44 points on that.
We used to, quote-unquote, win the offseason. Remember that? I will give the Chargers this. They win the social media.
Yes.
They're incredible. They had one this week, which was because this is the week it's vote for your players, and they did one for their kicker that is amazing.
Fantastic.
And if you have not seen it, it's unbelievably great, and actually the kicker's a pretty good actor. It's really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good. All right, Sunday, 1 o'clock, Colts, Falcons. Oh, that's funny. Oh, man, Minshew versus Heineke. Oh, this is an
swagged out white quarterbacks. We were just talking about this in the break.
Wow. This is an all-timer of that genre. This is like a cult classic. Minshew versus Heineke with playoffs on the line.
I wish Minshew was driving his RV to the game so he could park next to Heineke, whatever beat-up car he's got these days.
Teams are a long way away from Peyton Manning versus Michael Vick, aren't they?
Or Peyton Manning, Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Either one.
Oh, I love me some Heineke, and they're favored. That doesn't seem right. Give me the Colts.
Me too. Yeah,
that seems off. And I love me some Heineke, but that doesn't seem right.
Every week you and I talk about how we don't trust the Saints. I don't trust the Falcons more.
No, you can't. Yeah, you can't trust them.
They have 2 studs on their team. They just don't use them. They decide not to use either one of them.
Here's my advice to Heineke. Whatever Art says in your ear, don't listen to it.
Him.
Do what you want to do.
Remember
you be you.
Remember what you did last year? F it, Terry's down there somewhere.
Yes.
F it, Pitts is down there somewhere. F it, Drake London is down there somewhere too.
They'll fall in love with
chuck
him
up.
too, the way we did.
Yep,
All he has to
100%.
do is chuck it up to those guys,
Yep.
get some big touchdowns, and he's got big-time playmakers. It's crazy they don't score points.
I had to make a call last night because Olave ended up playing. He wasn't supposed to play, and then he got put in. I ended up benching London for Olave. That worked
You
out.
did all right with that.
It worked out, but I was kind of looking forward to, let me check in with the Falcons. Let me see what my boy Heineke's doing with London.
The last night I was watching, I felt for the Cooper Kupp people. He dropped 2 touchdowns last night.
Yeah.
Dropped 2 of them. Let's see. Seahawks, Titans. Geno's going to start.
Geno is starting, yep.
I mean, I would pick Seattle because they kind of have to win, and you'd assume they will, but I won't be surprised. Levis is hurt, though. Tannehill might play.
Oh, professional quarterback.
Oh, God. Watch Tennessee win, but I'll pick Seattle officially, but I will not be surprised for a second. Seattle's an average team, so give me. I don't think they should be, but they are. Give me Seattle barely. 19-17, Seattle.
Titans win.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Straight up.
Yeah,
The
I wouldn't be
spread's
surprised.
wonky too. 3.5 for a road.
Yeah.
For a road favorite. That's a weird point spread for a road favorite. Period. You also know how this works too. Mike Vrabel, professional coach as well. He'll have his guys ready to go. Home game. Give me the Titans. Straight up.
Lions at Vikings. Vikings need it. Lions can basically seal up to the division, right, if they
Correct.
win. They will anyway at some point. Lions actually have the Cowboys next week. This is actually a big game. First meeting between these two, so 2 of 3 against each other to end the season. I don't love Nick Mullins starting for Minnesota. Give me Detroit here. Probably not big because the Vikings have been close in all the games that they play. Give me the Lions though. 24-14, something like that.
I would love to pick the Vikings here. I'm with you though. I just don't trust them enough over the Lions. I'll take the under though, 47 points. I think it's a little high.
I was
for
right
both
on
of
it again.
those.
24-14.
Yeah.
I am all over it. All right.
I'll go a little. Yeah, I'll go the under on that one. I want to pick the Vikings really bad, but I cannot do it in good faith.
Packers at Panthers, car wreck game. Great car wreck game. All-time car wreck game. The Packers have to win, but at 6-8, are they even motivated to play? They go down there to take on Team Tepper, and you can't pick Carolina.
I want to too.
I know.
I want to, but I just
You can't. This is pass. I mean, this is big-time pass. And obviously, for all you draft people who want the Commanders to lose, what a miracle that would be if Carolina actually wins 2 in a row. I will take Green Bay reluctantly because I don't think you can't buy Carolina. But that's another one. I like the Tennessee one. The Packers may no-show. That's a distinct possibility they no-show in front of what probably will be a very partial Green Bay crowd in that stadium.
Correct, yeah. I want to take the Panthers so bad, but I'll take the Packers. Give me the Packers to win 23-20. It's super close. It's going to be super close.
Browns are at the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Texans have Case Keenum starting again because C.J. Stroud is out.
Yeah.
The Browns have Joe Flacco starting. Both of these teams could be in the playoffs.
Turn back the clock on that
This is
matchup.
weird. This is weird.
You could have told me Case Keenum and Joe Flacco were starting a game for the Browns and Texans for the last 10 years,
That's
and I
right.
would believe you.
Because Case Keenum is starting and because I buy the Browns defense, I think the Browns are going to win. And so give me them 24-13. I bet you the Texans don't score very much. 24-13.
Texans play great at home.
No, ain't happening this time.
Texans
Not without
play-
Stroud. Not happening.
Texans home win.
Flacco, hon.
17-14.
Flacco.
Texans
Nope.
win.
I'm bullish about this one. Browns.
Okay.
Straight up, baby.
That means I'm going the other way every
Yeah.
time then.
Let's see. Jaguars, Buccaneers. Ooh. Well. Super Baker is back in a big way. Trev has been in concussion protocol.
Questionable. Listed as questionable.
They lose if he doesn't play.
I think they might
Period.
lose if he
Christian
does play.
Kirk is out already.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me the Buccaneers. I'll take the Buccaneers. They've been scoring a lot lately. I don't know, 23-17. Give me the Buccaneers.
Spread on this one smells too. Buccaneers by 2.5. They're begging you to take the Jags. Zag back the other way.
Yeah,
Go.
Buccaneers.
Or they're begging you to take the Jaguars with the plus 2.5. Go Bucks and buy the extra half point with that as well.
Oddly, the most interesting game of all of them might be Cardinals-Bears.
That's right. Huge implications.
Not only huge implications, but I bet might be high scoring and fun.
This game
might be a fun one. Might be the most of all these games where I'm I don't know, and it's low scoring. Whoever gets the 21st wins. Not this one. This one stinks of it's going to be in the 30s. Watch. This is going to be a fun game. Watch.
There's going to be a Super Bowl winner this year. We're going to crown a champion. This one could determine a decade's worth of somebody's franchise player. That's what's crazy about this one. I'll take the Bears on this one.
I will take the Bears' defense has totally turned around recently. The Cardinals have been very, very competitive. Again, pass. But I don't know. Give me the Cardinals.
Same thing. I
take the Cardinals.
I like the point to we're opposite then. I like the point total once again though. 43. Give me the over all day long on that.
Dallas gets Miami. 425 too.
Mm-hmm.
McDaniel knows what he's going to hear. He's already told everybody. Tell the reporters to F off when they ask you that we can't beat good teams.
Right. Well, this is rock and a hard place. The Cowboys can't win on the road.
Right.
And the Dolphins can't beat good teams. So someone's bucking their trend with this one.
I don't like the matchup for Miami, frankly. If McDaniel is willing to run the ball a lot, and he may be, because I don't think he's an egomaniac.
Yeah.
As we saw with that speech earlier this week on Hard Knocks, he's willing to. If they run the ball a lot and they stick to it, then I like their chances. Tua, though, when under pressure, and he will be against this team with a beat-up offensive line, he's have to make mistakes, and we see what the Cowboys do with mistakes. They go the other way with it. Dolphins' defense has been much better in recent weeks. I don't like this matchup for Miami at all, actually. Dallas, 27-21, something like that. And I bet there are at least 2 Tua interceptions in this game off of pressure. Miami's best chance to win this game is to ground it out on these guys. Let's see if they actually do that. And if Tyreek Hill doesn't play, I love the Cowboys in this game. I don't like the matchup at all. Give me Dallas.
I'm leaning Dolphins here. I think Dallas is feast or famine, and I just feel famine incoming here, especially with how good the Dolphins' defense has been as of late. I think Dolphins actually win this fairly easily. Not a high-scoring one, but I think it's a 27-20, but they're in control most of the time and end up taking care of business against the Cowboys.
I'm working on my Dak impression. 2 impressions I've been working on this week, which is the Dak.
Dak
Here we go. That's before every play.
So boring.
Here we go. That one. And I've been working on my Joe Biden, which you need a visual for, where I have to make this crazy ghost-like face and go, folks. So I'm working on that one.
You look like one of the ghosts from Haunted Mansion.
Folks.
On that one, by the way,
Yeah,
over-under at 50. Take the under on that one.
Oh, maybe.
I don't think both those defenses are good enough. I think they're begging you to go, oh, high-scoring offenses. It's not going to happen.
I'll stick with it. I'm going to stay Dallas here.
Okay.
I like the matchup better for them, Dallas.
Okay.
Pats at Broncos. It's hard not to take Denver. I mean, so I'll pick Denver here. I think I don't know. Yeah, Denver. Let's see. Christmas Day, because we won't be here.
Yep.
1:00 kickoff. Raiders Chiefs. Watch out now. Watch out now.
Sounded like Travis Kelce over there. Watch out now.
Watch out now. So the Raiders are playing hard for Antonio Pierce. This on paper reads...
Do not talk yourself into this. Stop it.
Raiders
No.
upset.
No.
Christmas Day.
No, absolutely not.
Taylor Swift cries.
100% not. No way.
Raiders upset straight up Christmas Day. People start to wonder what in the world is going on. Chiefs don't score a lot these days. Watch. Raiders win outright Christmas Day.
This game's going to be so out of hand by the fourth quarter. They're going to be going to Taylor Swift every 5 seconds and going to break with her music. Nope. That's what's going to happen.
Not this time.
Chiefs win 30-13.
Raiders 24, Chiefs 20. Straight up.
You and I are on opposite ends on a lot of games this week.
Giants Eagles.
Okay, I think we both are going to agree on this
I will take Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Cutlets is not going to enjoy the land of cheesesteaks.
Correct.
Cutlets is done.
Yeah.
Eagles, although maybe they don't do it in impressive fashion, they'll win.
That point spread
I don't know what the score's going to be. It is high.
That point spread is so high for a divisional game.
I don't know what the score is going to be, but they're going to win.
Yeah,
they're going to win.
I agree.
So I'll just go. I'm confident they'll win. I can't give you a number on that one. And then game of the year.
Yeah.
Ravens 49ers Christmas night.
Yeah. fantastic matchup.
Oh, man, you can hear that, by the way, here, ESPN 630, Monday night if you happen to be out and about.
That's right.
Ravens 49ers. Oh, boy. This is a tough one. The Niners are a machine. It's just hard to pick against them at home. So I'm going to take them in what I'm assuming is going to be a close game. Hopefully it's a preview, maybe 1-2 between these two, possibility.
Maybe.
27-23 49ers, and I'm just guessing. I could make case for either one of them. I think it's going to be a great game.
I want to
pick the 49ers because they're home.
Want to pick the Ravens really bad, but I'm with you. East Coast team to a West Coast trip. You're never on a good point there. It's also Christmas Day. Players get distracted. I don't care what day it is, whatever. 49ers win this. I hope it's a close game, though. Like, that's all I'm really rooting for this one. 49ers, I think, will win, though. Give me like a 31-20-ish type of game. They'll win comfortably, I think.
All right. My most bullish picks, Browns, Cowboys, and I can't say anything about points, but I would if I could about the Raiders.
Ah, got it. Okay.
I would if I could.
Okay.
I think the Cowboys win outright. I think the Browns win outright. That's my Christmas presents to you.
Got it.
Christmas presents to you. To you.
You guys got Christmas music picked out for the broadcast this week?
I don't know. It's a good question. What kind of rock and roll? Because,
no.
What kind of rock and roll Christmas music options are there?
I would do.
Who does rock and roll Christmas? Love Actually guy, right? We could play that one.
I played earlier today. You should suggest down the line to whoever your producer is. Foo Fighters, Run Run Rudolph.
That's good. Okay.
It's a great one.
Yeah.
I would go.
The Chuck Berry version's a great.
Of course.
Too.
Of course.
Okay. That kind of falls into the category.
I would go with U2.
Is there any white zombie options?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You could do U2. Baby Please Come Home. That one.
Okay.
There's
that's a good
one. I'm trying to think. I'm racking my brain now.
Metallica have any? No,
Metallica doesn't.
Okay.
Tom Petty. Christmas All Over Again.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay.
You could use either one of Bruce Springsteen's Santa Claus is Coming to Town or Merry Christmas Baby. Both great Christmas songs.
Okay. Send me this note. We'll send you the consulting fee. I'll send that over to my friends over there. We need the rock and roll style rejoins.
I mean, I know it is a rock station, but I think Christmas in Hollis could be rotated in there too.
So that's a great Christmas
Run DMC
song.
Is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
True.
You could stretch that. So
is Public Enemy.
That's right. I don't think
the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has gotten confused on their mission a little bit.
It's okay. I like it though.
The Beastie Boys are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Broad. That's okay.
Nothing. Well, they're
kind of rock and roll.
I guess Run DMC played with Aerosmith.
Yeah,
so
that's
whatever.
So yeah, I think you got your picks. I think if you really want to go old school, you could go Elvis, Blue Christmas. If you want to do that.
Yeah. Elvis. Elvis is a must-have, I think.
Right. So I'm even. You could go Beach Boys as well.
Beach Boys. Yeah.
Little Saint Nick.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Great. Yes. Good. Look at you. You got it all set for us. I'll set them in.
The Eagles have one too, so I think you could go that route as well.
Good.